So here we are on week 9 of my GAA off season, and my goal at the moment is a body recompositional goal of losing fat and adding some size. So I'm working with coach Dylan Nolan in Ram in Sligo, and for all these exercises we're looking for a 2-second eccentric, a pause and a 2-second concentric, so I have to drop the ego a little bit and drop the weight. First exercise of push day is a dumbbell bench press, and we're going for 2 to 3 sets of 10 to 12 reps on all of these exercises. So as we're in a deficit, the volume isn't massively high, but we're keeping the intensity as high as we can for each set. Second exercise then is incline barbell bench press. Again, trying to keep that technique as slow as we can. I am going a little bit fast on this week. I'll have dropped the weight over the weeks and really focused on getting that pause at the bottom, slow up and slow down. So I did have 3 rotator cuff tears during the summer, so my left arm is definitely giving out before my right. Third exercise then, we're on to dumbbell lateral raises. The tempo actually is okay on this one. I'm trying to hold at the top for a second, 2 seconds up and 2 seconds lower and back down. The reps on this one were a little bit higher. We're going for 12 to 15 reps. I'm taking around 90 seconds to 2 minutes rest in between each set. On the bigger compound movements like bench press and incline press, I'm taking 2 minutes, but around 90 seconds for smaller exercises like lateral raises or isolation exercises for the arms. For the last couple of reps, we can cheat out a few, go a little bit faster just to get them up, but as long as every rep doesn't look like that, we're going in the right direction. Next exercise then, we have this French press. So I really like this machine. It's a Panada machine, so you know it's going to be really good. Loads of Panada machines in Ram here in Sligo. So again, really focusing on slow up, slow down, and I should be having a little pause here at the bottom. I am trying to correct that over the weeks. That is the joy of filming yourself in the gym. It doesn't always have to be for vanity. Dylan sees these videos and he tells me to drop the weight, drop the ego, slow it down a bit and focus on what we're trying to work. With most of these exercises, the first 3 or 4 reps feel really easy. You think you've gone way too low on the weight. And then by rep 7 or 8, you're absolutely dying on whatever exercise it is. We're really grinding these ones out. And then moving on to some cable front raises. So discussion you see a lot is you get a lot of front delt work done when you're doing a lot of pressing movements. But we have these ones in because we want to give it extra bit of work after coming back from that rotator cuff tear. I don't want to go into any overhead pressing movements. I just want to isolate that shoulder. As you can see the weight stack behind me, I don't need a massive amount of weight for this. Controlling up, trying to hold for a second at the top and 2 seconds back down. Easier to do at the start of the set and trying to hold as much as we can while keeping that technique. Once I feel I cannot get that technique at that tempo, I might grind out a few quick ones here at the end. But again, 2 to 3 sets, going around 12 to 15 reps in this one as well. On to a cable crunch. So I'm working abs 3 times a week now on this plan. Just as one of my goals was to improve my abs and my overall physique as well as dropping that body fat. So I really enjoy this exercise. It's not one I would have done massively before. Would have done a lot of ab wheel rollouts, planks, cable wood chops, pal-off presses. But I'm finding this one working really well. So I'm curving my spine as I'm coming down, really getting that crunch on the abs, trying to get a full extension as I'm coming up, getting a stretch at the top, squeezing at the bottom. Again, I have improved the technique on this over the week. This is just a little bit too fast, so try and hold for a second at the bottom, nice and slow back up, nice and slow down, and getting that squeeze on the abs. A staple in any push day is probably a tricep pushdown. And again, with this one, trying to hold it for a second at the bottom, 2 seconds coming down, 2 seconds coming up, and trying to be as strict as possible as I can with this one while keeping my elbows to the side. A mistake you see people making with a tricep push down is their elbows will come up as the weight is coming up, and it comes into like a hybrid lat pullover tricep push down. So hands trying to be level with the shoulders at the top, elbows staying tucked in, pushing all the way down. Now, the form went a little bit there at the end. And we're finishing off the session with 13 minutes cardio on the bike. I'm aiming for zone 3. On to our second session of the week. So this is the day after the push day. We're going for a pull day. So we're going for a wide grip cable row. Again, letting the body come a little bit forward, get that stretch, flaring the elbows out a little bit, trying to work on getting a wider back at the top, looking for that V shape. Again, these are my body compositional goals. If you have different goals, your training may look different. But after having the discussion with Dylan, telling him what I wanted to get on this plan, we reckoned going for a little bit of a wider back, bringing up the shoulders a bit, will give us that look that we're looking for, while also bending that deficit and dropping the fat. So again, 10 to 12 reps, 3 sets on this one, trying to keep it as slow as we can until we can grind out a few at the end. Second exercise then was this incline dumbbell curl. So this is a really humbling exercise when you go really slow. So we're keeping the elbows in place, only bringing our hands and forearms up, getting a squeeze at the top, nice and slow back down, getting a full stretch at the bottom. So again, a mistake you see people making with this, they'll bring their elbows up as they're bringing the weight up, and it comes into like a front raise, bicep curl, hybrid variation where you're not really working anything. So not going massive weights on this. These might be 10 kilos, maybe 7.5. It's not a crazy weight on it, but when you slow everything right down, you think about what muscle you're trying to work, you're getting a squeeze at the top. You can see my legs are bouncing there. This is getting tough. 2 to 3 sets on this, 10 to 12 reps, around 90 seconds rest in between each set. You'll really feel a good burn on these. Next exercise now, we've gone for a single arm lat pull down, and we're going for supinated, so our palms are facing our face. Going for 10 to 12 reps on this one as well, on this plate loaded machine. I have done this one on the cables as well if this machine was taken, but I really like the flow of this one, or the bar path, or whatever you want to call it. I like this machine now. So trying to drive that elbow down towards the hips, control the weight back up, and we're trying to control the weight down. We're not pulling it down as hard as we can. We're thinking about working our lats here, thinking about working the muscles in our back. So again, trying to pull out as much bicep work as possible. It will kick in at some stage, especially when you go supinated. You will get a little bit of work on the arms, but think about what muscle we're trying to work in here. So obviously working both sides equally there, 3 sets, 10 to 12 reps. We're moving on to cable face pulls. So this is another exercise I wouldn't really have done in the last 3 or 4 years, but as we're trying to work that upper back, working the shoulders, it's one that Dylan has in for me. So don't need to use a massive amount of weight for working the rear delts. It's a small enough muscle. If you see people going mad heavy on this one, they're probably going really fast, not really feeling where they should be feeling it. Aiming for that 2 seconds up, 2 seconds down, and getting the hole at the top while that rope is as close to our face as possible. A little bit fatigued when we're this far into our session, but trying to do as best we can, and might cheat a few reps at the end when we're getting towards our target rep range. Next up, we've got this lat pullover. Again, another exercise I wouldn't have done it a massive amount of times before, but it's handy that my online coach Dylan is in the gym, and he usually goes around the same time as me, so he can give me a few pointers when we're here. So this is the way he showed me how to do it. I feel it working my back. If you do it a different way and you feel it has a better effect on you, that's perfect as well. So keeping a slight bend in my elbows and thinking about bringing my elbows towards my hips as I'm coming up, try and take out any arm involvement as much as we can. So as the rope is going towards the machine, I'm bending down. As I'm pulling, I'm coming a little bit up. So the fatigue is setting in here. I'm going a little bit faster now, just as I can't keep that squeeze at the top. 10 to 12 reps, 2 to 3 sets, and taking that 90 seconds to 2 minutes rest in between each set. And the last of the gym-based exercises is a rope hammer curl. So I would have done these a good bit over the years, and would have done them a little bit incorrectly, where my elbows were coming up. I was lifting heavy weight, thinking I was class, but I wasn't really feeling it working my arms as much. So I dropped the weight on this one, trying to keep my elbows tucked in as much as I can. You can see them slightly coming up there. I am conscious of it, so I'm trying to avoid that. Hands up level with the shoulders, get a full stretch at the bottom, trying to keep my body upright, try not to use any momentum. 2 seconds up, 2 seconds down, and try and get a squeeze at the top for around a second if we can. And just to finish off our pull day, we're on the bike again for another 30 minutes, aiming for that zone 3. Next up then, we've got our leg day. I got my camera angles a little bit off on this one, but we're starting with this panada hamstring curl, and this one is an absolute burner on the legs. So we're trying to come in for 2 seconds, hold for a second at the top, and 2 seconds coming back up again. It feels like your hamstring is going to cramp or tear when you're holding for a second or when you bring your legs in. Again, weight isn't massive on this one. I tried going a little bit heavier and found I didn't have the control. I'm not working for performance at the moment. This is solely for bodybuilding and for physique, and that's why I have a coach. That's what he's telling me to do. Again, we're working 3 sets of 10 to 12 reps on this one. with around 2 minutes rest in between this one, because I find that I need that 2 minutes rest, going a little bit faster at the end, getting to failure. Next, we've got Bulgarian split squats or rear foot elevated split squats. I like to do these with my foot flat on the bench. I find if I go up with my toes, I start to use that as a little bit of leverage, so I'm not getting all the work on the leg in front. So when we're doing split squats, the leg in front should be the only one we're working. If you're up on your toes and you're helping yourself get up for every single rep and going up on the weights, you might only be fooling yourself. This is one of those exercises where I just cannot bring myself to do the 2 seconds up and 2 seconds down with. It's awful tough. So working both sides equally there, and then we're moving on to leg press. It's a more quad focused leg day. We have 3 quad exercises in it and only 1 hamstring, but I haven't found any issues yet with this. I'm still playing AstroTurf once a week, playing for around an hour and a half, and I don't feel the hammers or anything are getting they're not pulling or ripping or anything, which is always good. So with the leg press again, 2 seconds in, hold for a second at the bottom if you can, 2 seconds up. And this leg press weighs a ton as it is anyway. I think it's 80 kilos as it is, so you don't need to add a massive amount of weight on top of this for a really good effective set. And I really like the angle on this one as well. There is other leg presses in the gym, but this one is by far my favourite. And I say that in the loosest terms because it's absolutely destroying me as I'm doing it. Then we're on to these leg extensions, another Panada machine. I really like this leg extension. So 2 seconds up, try and hold for a second at the top as if you're tensing your quad as hard as you can. 2 seconds back down. Again, when you're doing it at this tempo, it's hard to do a heavy weight with the control. Obviously, if you can do heavier, I'm sure a lot of people will be able to do heavier than me, fair play to you. But if you're going on the full stack, you're banging them up, you're flying all over the seat, you might be working the muscles as best as you possibly could if you're looking to work on those hypertrophy parameters and add muscle onto your size. And again, just adding a few cheat reps there at the end. Last exercise on leg day, exercise on leg day is this hip abduction. So we're bringing our knees together, trying to hold for a second and the top, and nice and slow back out. So 2 seconds in, squeeze at the top for a second, 2 seconds back out. I'm finding this really working my groins really well. I've had a couple of issues with osteitis pubis over the last year or so, and it's been a really weak area for me. It's been quite sore at times, and I found getting this extra stretch has definitely relieved some of that pain, and I've had zero pain on the AstroTurf where I would have had a couple of months ago. So since adding these in, I feel like I've really strengthened up my groins. Only going for 2 sets on this one, 12 to 15 reps, and it's an absolute burner on the legs. So I do abs on this day as well. That's what my coach says to do. So we're doing hanging leg raises, going for 3 sets of 12 to 15 reps on this one as well. Trying to control it as best we can. I know it's easy to throw the legs up here and not really feel anything. Sometimes you feel it working your hip flexors more than anything else. So I'm always thinking about working my abs on this one, slowing it down, let the small of my back come off the pad and get that crunch as well. So really focus on technique on this one and not just throw my legs around as fast as I can, flying through the reps and sets. And after doing a full leg session and you have to do abs, the last thing you want to do is do a half an hour cardio, but it's on the plan. It's the plan I've asked to do, so that's what we're doing after doing our abs. Our 4th session of the week then is an upper body session, so basically a back and biceps, a little bit of arms as well, starting off with a lat pull down. So again, a nice big stretch at the top, squeeze at the bottom, 2 seconds up, 2 seconds down, and trying for a 1 second pause at the bottom. Again, really dropping the weight on this one now. It's a little bit of an ego hit when you see what weight you're doing, but you're thinking about how you're moving the weight, not what weight you're moving. I'm not a competitive power lifter. I don't care what the weight is on the bar or on the machine. If I feel it's tough and I'm able to hit that rep range with 1 to 2 reps away from failure or hitting failure, I know I'm working in what my window is at the moment. I have noticed over the weeks my strength is improving just after being away from the gym for so long during the summer. So we are adding some weight onto the machines over the weeks. Second exercise then is this pec fly on the pec deck. There is a cable machine I prefer. If I can get onto it, it's great. I don't find this one as good as the cabled, but look, it needs must. 2 seconds in, 2 seconds out, and trying to hold for a second at the top. This machine still is good. I just prefer the cables myself. So everyone will have their preference on machines and exercise selection. And Dylan is happy enough for me to chop and change as long as it's a similar movement. I'm not changing a pec fly for a tricep dip or something. So we are still working the muscles he has me down to work. So when you really slow down a pec fly, it just makes it 10 times harder in my opinion. And especially when you add a pause at the top and you're getting that big stretch at the bottom. So I always add the handles that are a little bit further than my range of motion, so when I am at the bottom of a rep, I'm nowhere near coming to a stop. Third exercise now, we're on to our wide grip T-bar row. I would have done a lot of narrow grip on this over the years, just as I'm improving that strength and kind of have a blocky shape, as my coach says. But we're trying to work that upper back, trying to build the widthness into the upper back, so we're going for a lot of wide grip stuff. He had advised me to let my chest come off the pad at the top just to get that extra bit of range of motion, so I'm not cheating reps on this. This is the way I've been shown to do it. He came 7th in the world in his recent competition, so I think he knows what he's talking about, so I'm going to listen to him. 10 to 12 reps, 3 sets on all of these exercises, and then we're on to this Panata lateral raise machine. Can't say that one. So this is also 3 sets of 10 to 12 reps, 2 seconds up, hold for a second at the top, 2 seconds back down. I really like this machine. I find that there's more resistance compared to doing it with just dumbbells. Some people may prefer cables. Busy enough gym, I go in after work. It's around 5 o'clock, half 5 by the time I'm going in. I'm lucky enough if this machine is free, never mind cables, setting up the cuffs and everything. So I also have to take into account I'm doing 30 minutes cardio. It's hard to set up all these fancy exercises that may be more optimal, but this is still quite tough. I'm enjoying it and it's handy to get in and out. Next, we're on to cable crunch again. So I do this twice a week. 3 sets of 15 reps on this one. Again, I'm going just a little bit too fast in this one. I have slowed it down over the weeks. So at this stage of my plan, we've actually taken out arms on my upper body day. There used to be a little bit of arms involved in it, but as Dylan has said, my shoulders and arms are a stronger point for me, and we're trying to really work on that back. We've taken them out as we're already hitting them on our push and pull days. So just to work the obliques now, we're going for these side bends. So we're going for 20 reps, 10 on either side. I've taken these out over the next couple of weeks then as well, just that I didn't find them very challenging. I felt like they were slightly working my obliques. I wasn't finding it tough. I was adding more reps in and really wasn't finding any difference. But it's one of those exercises that can help just make the obliques pop, and that's something that we're looking to do. Finishing off my session then, another 30 minutes on the bike. Soul crushing to say the least. But look, it has to be done. And the final session of my week then is a sprint session on the pitch. No issues with the hamstring. If anything, this will improve them. Just uploading these for myself. If you've watched, thanks.